Hello, my name is Cheryl Meyer, otherwise known as Cheryl M. Health Muse, and I am a health coach. I want to welcome you to my podcast, It Feels Good to Feel Good, Future Proof Your Health. This is a weekly show that will share lifestyle changes that you can make to support your health yourself. Why do I want to share this information with you? 7 years ago, after being a business owner for 20 years, I woke up one morning in horrific pain where every bone and every joint in my body hurt. I went to the doctor. She ran lots of tests, and then she ran some more, and then she ran some more, and finally she called me and announced she was going to give me steroids, but there was absolutely nothing wrong with me and I should seek therapy. I knew something was wrong. I hurt. So she told me I would be on steroids for the rest of my life, and I refused that I was going to have a life of pain and pills. So why was I going to take steroids if there was nothing wrong with me? So I dug in and started researching, and I turned my business over to my staff. I found a functional doctor who confirmed that I had autoimmune disease. By making a series of significant lifestyle changes that I could do for myself, 5 years later, I had returned to relative health. The best part is that I am now 70, and I feel better now than I did when I was 50. I no longer hurt, which is huge. I will always have autoimmune disease, but losing the pain has been amazing. I went back to school at 67 and became a health coach because I want to share everything that I learned with others. And I wrote a book called It Feels Good to Feel Good, Learn to Eliminate Toxins, Reduce Inflammation, and Feel Great Again, as the manual I wished that I had had when I got sick, and my book has won 13 awards. So whether you want to future-proof your health and grow old with dignity and grace without dementia and chronic pain and disease, which you don't need to get, or whether or not you already have a chronic condition like autoimmune disease or cancer or heart disease, and you want to learn about what things you can do to improve your long-term health, or whether you want to improve the health of your families and raise healthy children, because 53% of our children have a chronic condition, I look forward to sharing all this information with you. I will tell you, it truly does feel good to feel good, so let's get started. I look forward to having you join me here every week, and I want to give you hope that if you have chronic pain or chronic disease, you can make changes that will improve your health, and if you don't want to go there, you're going to be fine if you listen to the show and put these things into work. I want to give you information so that you can grow old and have a better tomorrow. So thank you for joining me. Let's get started. Hello, my name is Cheryl Meyer, and I am otherwise known as Cheryl M. Health Muse. And today, I want to share some additional things that I have learned recently about how to protect your immune system with food. I keep learning more and more about it, and I personally have lost the pain to my autoimmune disease. So I'm a big believer in eating the rainbow, eating fruits and vegetables, eating vegetables that were just picked from a farm as close to you as possible so that you're getting prime nutrients, which was the podcast right before this one. But there's even more information that's come out recently, and I want to share it with you because with the super viruses going around and with everything else happening, all the information that I learned that I can give you that might help you stay well in this crazy time where we're so polarized and people do and don't want to get vaccinated and do and don't want to wear masks. What you can do is change how you eat and start eating the rainbow and real food. And I want to give you some of the things that have come out recently about why this is such a successful strategy for you to take care of your body and feel great as you age. Now, you'll probably remember I'm 72. My husband's 75, and we both feel better than we did in our 50s. And for a large reason, it's because of how we're eating. It's not that simple. We take care of our stress and we do stress exercises. We both try to ensure that we get 7+ hours of sleep a night. We both do breathing exercises because breathing is an important pillar of health. We both move, and that's an important pillar of health. But I still believe that the big foundational piece is what we put into our bodies because our body cells are constantly rebuilding. And so, with every bite you eat, I want you to start asking yourself, is that something you want to be building healthy cells from? Because if it's not, you shouldn't be putting it in your mouth. So, I'm just going to start out and get going and start to share some of the new information with you because I find it fascinating and I'm hoping that you will find this to be very useful information as well. Now, some of this is observational, and I understand that. But what do you have to lose? You know that if you eat the standard American diet, which is all chemicals and sugar and fake food and isn't giving your body what it needs to be healthy and to rebuild its cells, that isn't working. That's why so many people in the United States are ill. And that's probably why so many people in the United States have gotten COVID. So you have nothing to lose to eat the rainbow and to follow the things that I'm about to share with you. And I will tell you, it only took me about 3 weeks, and I started to feel a big difference in my body. And once you start to feel good, you're not so willing to give it up again. So I have learned ways to sustain my new healthy eating habits, no matter who I am, still have a social life because that's important to me, but I have found ways to sustain it no matter where I am. So these are the kinds of things we're going to talk about today. There is a new study that has been published that indicates ultra processed food, if they can, are actually consisting of 2/3 of the caloric intake in children and teens diets. Now we know that 54% of our kids have some kind of chronic illness. It's a correlation. It isn't a double blind study, but it's a correlation that we're not letting our kids eat real nutrients, real phytonutrients, and they're 2/3 of what they're eating is fake food. It's processed and fast food. And so, yep, it's a correlation. But if I was a parent, man, I certainly would pay attention to this because I wouldn't want my kids to fall into that 54%. It seems as though our diets are just getting worse and worse, despite more and more evidence that a healthy diet is crucial to longevity. I was just part of 45 people speaking about health and how food can give you food freedom and can build you a healthier body. These were experts from all over the field who all agree that food is a critical foundational piece to good health. 11 million people die every year from a bad diet. And likely that's an underestimate of huge numbers. And more than 2 billion people in the world are overweight and sick because they're eating a processed, industrialized diet, and they're sick from eating and not eating a whole foods diet. So that's a lot of people. 2 billion people in the world are sick. And that's because we have influenced them to eat the standard American diet, which is pretty sad. SAD, that's what that stands for. We're spraying chemicals on our farms. We're making food that's even more chemicals that are added into it. And we're getting very little nutrition in the food that we're eating in the SAD diet. So we're sick. How sad is that? So even though some of this is observational, what I recommend is you give it a try yourself and see how it makes you feel when you start eating phytonutrients and all the colors of the rainbow fairly close together, because something happens that's magical when they get together in your body and they party to make you well. A diet that does not have enough healthy foods, which are fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, whole grains, etc., with too many bad foods, which are the processed foods, the refined grains, the sugar sweetened beverages. Oh my God, that's like gut rot. The trans fats, etc., have accounted for 11 million deaths and 250 million years of disability in this country. Think of how many years of life have been lost because of the diet that we're eating. It's a big deal. And the costs are beyond comprehension. Why do you think our healthcare system is broken? Because health insurance companies can't keep up with how quickly we're all getting standard American diseases and then we're dying standard American deaths. So it has to start with food. If we clean up our food and we clean up our body, if we are conscious of what we're putting into our bodies, and then building healthy immune systems, we won't need such a huge infrastructure for health insurance and for healthcare because we will start to be eating health and living health in an all new way. So this is important information. And if I can only have you try it for a while and see how you feel, then I will have succeeded. In 2018, the Milken Institute issued two major reports: the cost of chronic diseases in the United States and America's obesity crises, the health and economics of excess weight. Now, I've had a weight problem my whole life, and I have, in the last 4 years, lost 65 pounds without dieting. For years, I thought it was that I didn't have willpower and I could never sustain a diet. I was trying every diet on the New York Times bestseller list. And for me, I was gaining weight by the time I was done doing them because I couldn't sustain it. I didn't realize I was addicted to the sugar and the chemicals in processed food. And so in the end, I was going back to eating them. I was eating more and I wasn't giving my body what I needed. One of the things I read, and I have said this on my podcast before, is if that's how you're eating, you are starving your body. At the time, it didn't make any sense to me. How could I be starving when I was fat? I still am a work in progress. I am not at my weight that I want to be at, but hey, I am 65 pounds lighter. And so one of the reasons that I gained all that weight was because my body was hanging on to every single little phytonutrient it got because it wasn't getting very many. And yes, I was starving my body. I was starving my body of the nutrition that my body needed. So the second report is the health and economic costs of excess weight. And it maps out the staggering impact of food obesity and disease caused by our current food system. In the United States, these are just a few more key facts. 60% of Americans have one chronic disease. 60%. 40% have two or more chronic diseases. There's something called multiple autoimmune disease. I actually interviewed someone who had it. Not only did she get multiple autoimmune diseases, but on top of it all, she got cancer. And it was by changing her diet to the Dr. Terry Wall protocol that she was able to stop it, to return to wellness, and to start living her life again. So yes, some of this is observational, but I'm telling you, there's enough people who have made this work that I believe it. And so I strongly recommend that you give it a try if you're struggling at all with your health. In 10 years, 83 million people in America will have three or more chronic diseases because they keep accumulating. Once your body starts to break down, it can't fend off disease. And the only way to change and turn the tide on that is by eating phytonutrients that build your cells, that allow you strong building supplies. In the last video I did, in my last podcast, I talked about the big bad wolf. And when the big bad wolf came and blew at the straw house, it was real easy for him to blow it down because they hadn't eaten any building supplies that were helpful. When he blew at the stick house, it stood a little bit longer. those people had maybe been eating some phytonutrients, but they were still eating tons of processed food. But the guy who built the brick house, he got to stay there. He got to live in a strong house because he used strong, powerful building supplies. And so his body was able to withstand the wind from the wolf, and the wolf couldn't break in. And that's what I want you to think about. I want you to think about the three little pigs while I'm talking about this. The direct healthcare costs for chronic health conditions was $1.1 trillion in 2016, or 5.8% of our gross national product. We can't possibly have a healthcare system that can keep up with that. There's lots of things wrong with healthcare, but one of the big ones is we're not helping it out and we're eating all the wrong stuff. So we're getting sick, way too sick, and way too fast for healthcare to keep up with us. The indirect costs, which is lost income, reduced productivity, impact on caretakers, but not including the impact of the food system on our environment and climate, was another $2.6 trillion. So that's 1.1 trillion plus 2.6 trillion. Wow. Just think if we all started eating strong building supplies so that our bodies had a better chance against chronic illness. The combined direct and indirect cost was $3.7 trillion, or 1 in $5 of our entire economy every year. Why do you think healthcare isn't keeping up with us? So pay attention to what I'm saying, because there is some value in here for you to try it and to turn around your health and to live old and keep your brain and be healthy until the very end. You know, as a boomer, I was pretty much brought up that I was going to go looking for the magic pill when I got old. And guess what? There isn't a magic pill. All the magic pill can do when you go to the doctor, those pharmaceuticals, all they do is mitigate. They don't cure. The only thing that can actually cure is feeding your body the right stuff. Most of the diseases driving the costs are related to obesity and poor diet, hypertension, abnormal cholesterol, osteoarthritis, type 2 diabetes. I'm doing sugar and chemical detoxes. I've had 4 people experience dramatic reversal of their type 2 diabetes. One went from pre-diabetic out the other end to not diabetic at all. One went from diabetic out the other end to not diabetic at all. Another one went from 11.2 as their A1C down to 6.1. And the last one went from 7.1 to 6.1. Now the 6.1 is still called pre-diabetes, but we're on the way out the other end of diabetes to healthy living. And one of those people was me. My husband is one of the ones who had diabetes and is now considered non-diabetic. And it's because we eat so clean that our bodies have reversed that condition. High blood pressure, stroke, cancer, Alzheimer's, and kidney failure. Those are the diseases that are coming from eating the sad diet, that very sad diet, the standard American diet, and not eating enough phytonutrients and strong building supplies to protect our bodies. These costs do not include prediabetes, by the way, which affects 1 in 2 Americans and causes heart attacks, strokes, and dementia, even if it never becomes full-blown diabetes. What's worse is that our current pandemic is being made even more threatening by other lifestyle. So you add a lack of movement with bad diet, you're eating the standard American diet, you're not breathing, you're allowing stress to get you down and make you sick. And I used to think, I'm going to tell you this, I had my own jewelry business. I was a successful businesswoman. And I thought that stress was making me get more done. Now that I control my stress and I have a series of exercises I do to let the top off my stress, I am far more productive because I have a clear brain and stress was bogging me down with brain fog. So, all of the different pillars of health are important, but it starts with food. What's worse is that our current pandemic is being made even more frightening and threatening because of these lifestyle factors. 50% of the meals eaten outside the home um, are usually reheated, factory made science projects that resemble food that actually aren't. And this convenience is killing us. Every cell in our body turns over every 7 years. Every cell in our body has a shelf life. They are dying off and replacing themselves all the time. I just talked about the A1C. And A1C takes 4 months of blood cells, and that means it has some brand new blood cells, it has medium blood cells, it has some less medium blood cells, and then it has some that are ready to die off. And it takes a look at the amount of sugar in those cells. A high A1C means that across that spectrum, there's way too much sugar, and your insulin can't deal with all that sugar. So when it knocks on the door of your cells say, go away. I can't handle you. And so that stuff goes to your liver and gets stored in your fat because your liver does a great job of cleaning out all this stuff until it can't. And when it becomes overwhelmed, it stores it in fat. And that's when you start to have metabolic issues. Some cells turn over daily, some turn over weekly, and some take longer. Now, your gut lining, which we now know is a critical element to health, it replaces itself every 6 days. Down lower in your lower intestine, that gut lining replaces itself every 3 days. Why? Because it's very corrosive down there. There's a lot of acid in your lower intestine. So it has to keep rebuilding because every 3 days, that acid is eating away at it. Your skin replenishes itself. Even your brain, they used to think your brain did not grow new cells. Well, now they know your brain does grow new cells. The outside of your lungs, so important for COVID, are replacing themselves like every 2 weeks. And your heart replaces itself like once a year, the outside lining of your heart. But every cell in your body is replacing itself. So this is important to know because you got to be eating the right stuff so that when it goes to rebuild, it only has good stuff to pull from. Ever wonder how we make new cells, organs, tissues, skin, muscle, bones, and even brain cells? Well, we don't just manufacture them out of thin air. The raw materials come from what we eat. So the big question is, do you want to be made of tortilla chips or do you want to be made of grass-fed beef? Do you want to be made of Pepsi and pop and Coca-Cola? Or do you want to be made of all the phytonutrients that are in blueberries? Because blueberry skin is loaded with all kinds of great things that are really good for the body. Everything you put in your mouth, you should be asking yourself, do you want your bodies and your cells to be replenishing from what you're putting in it? Because that's the question of the day. Our structure, which determines our function, is dependent upon what we eat for our building blocks. The proteins, the fats, the minerals, and more that make up who we actually are. And I want you to remember all calories are not created equal. There were 2 separate studies published within the last couple of years that a diet of ultra-processed foods lead to higher risks of cardiovascular disease and an increased risk of early death. One of the biggest food lies of all time is that a calorie is a calorie is a calorie. And if you meet an old nutritionist who went to school a couple of years ago, they still might believe that, but the reality is all calories are not created equal. So if you're eating calories that are sugar, that is not the same as eating calories from a large amount of rainbow vegetables. Those calories may be the same numbers, but what you're getting from those calories are totally different things. How much you eat matters, and the quality of the food you eat matters because it drives our gene function, our metabolism, and our health. Rather than subscribing to the antiquated calories in, calories out model for weight loss and good health, I want you to start focusing on powerful, gene altering, whole, real, fresh food that you cook yourself because it can rapidly change your biology. Food actually is information. I didn't know any of this stuff when I got sick. Food is information. So only by changing the food you eat to making it food with all those beautiful phytonutrients are you going to change your biology. You're, you will lose weight by getting your system balanced and not by starving yourself. So if you only eat 10 calories, your body's going to hold on to what little it's got because it's not going to want to give it up because you're not eating enough to feed it and you're not eating enough to rebuild cells. When we get sick and go to the doctor, we're there to get pharmaceuticals, but we're not being advised to make lifestyle changes or to fix our diet, which would truly be the beginning of the cure. This is why many health conditions don't get fixed, but they get managed. I said something similar just a moment ago. Pills don't cure. I'm not saying we don't need them. Sometimes we do need them until we can eat enough good food to manage whatever that thing is. But your doctor doesn't even know in most cases that food can heal. So if he's giving you a pharmaceutical, ask him what you would have to achieve in terms of testing for you to be able to wean back off that pill. Because as much as that pill might do some good, that pill is also probably doing some bad. There's a trade-off for most medications. So have the conversation with your doctor when you start taking a new medication. What's it going to take for you to get tested to convince him that it's time for you to continue with your food and your rainbow and your phytonutrients? When you look at your diet, it's important on focusing on getting processed food, sugar, and toxic food additives out of your diet. So if you can't do it right away, start to add real food in until it replaces all those other things. You tear it down your body with poor food choices, lack of energy, and with nonstop stress. You also tear it down with inadequate amounts of continuous sleep. So all of these things come together to create health. It's not simple. And you got to move. I don't like to move, but I'm learning that I've got to move too because otherwise I can't completely be healthy. And so all of the pillars are important, but start with food. That's the best place to start. This is a quote from a functional nutritionist named Johnny Bowden. When somebody asks me how confused they are, tells me how confused they are about diet, which is pretty much every day of my life, this is what I tell them to do. It's the simplest, easiest intervention you can do for your body. It doesn't require counting grams or calories or ounces. It doesn't require that you evaluate the pros and cons of high fat, low fat, paleo, vegetarian, raw food, high protein, or any of that stuff. In fact, it's so simple, it's hard to believe that it works as well as it does, but it does work. Probably more powerfully than any diet program, any diet book, and certainly it's easier to sustain for the rest of your life. I will guarantee you that eating real food is definitely easier to sustain. So here's the deal. Every morsel that goes into your mouth has to pass one test and only one test. It has to be real food. Okay, I can hear you saying to me, what the heck does he mean by real food? Certainly, if I'm eating processed food and I'm eating chemicals and I'm eating sugar, they're real. They don't count as real. Real means you need to eat quality fats, which are omega-3 fats. You need to eat quality protein, In my case, I like to eat pastured protein, but it's not inexpensive. So I have cut down how much of it I eat. I eat enough of it to sustain my body, but I'm not eating copious amounts of it. You can get some protein from complex carbohydrates, and you want to stay away from things like genetically modified foods because then you're getting a heavy dose of chemicals with every bite. You need whole foods and carbohydrates like vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds because that real food is healthy. And then there's broccoli. Well, broccoli is broccoli. And broccoli, by the way, is one of the healthiest things you can put into your body because it's one of the building blocks for your gut lining. And remember, leaky gut leads to chronic illness. Leaky gut actually leads to inflammation. Inflammation leads to chronic illness, and that leads to chronic diseases. And eventually it will lead to the standard American death. So we know that broccoli and almonds are real food. I'm still continuing with Johnny Bowden's statement. We all know that Twinkies and cornflakes probably aren't, but there's a whole lot of foods that fit in between. So here's the rule. If you're not sure if it's real, then just know that it's probably not. Don't eat it. Don't give it the benefit of the doubt. If it comes in a box, if it has ingredients you don't recognize except from Chemistry 101, if it looks like it could live on the shelf for a couple of years and not be in any different form, for God's sakes, don't put it in your body, period. Food is not just calories or energy. Food is information. It's instructions that upgrade or downgrade your biology with every bite. It's kind of like computers, garbage in, garbage out. If you're only putting garbage into your body doesn't have quality mechanisms to operate your operating system. Think of it as a code that programs your software. Your hardware is your genes. Your software is how those genes are turned on or off. Food regulates not only your genes, but also your hormones like insulin, testosterone, estrogen, thyroid. It alters your brain chemistry. It produces happy chemicals, and it can trigger addictive patterns. You can eat to build muscle. You can build healthy bones. You can gain energy. You can balance your hormones. You can fix your gut. You can boost your immunity. You can improve your heart health and everything in between if you're eating the right stuff. So next time you chomp down on something, ask yourself, are you fine with that becoming a part of your body for the long term? Because if you're not, don't eat it and seek out the best quality ingredients instead. And by the way, taste and quality go together. Everything, our health, our communities, and our planet is connected to what we do and don't eat. So, what are the essential nutrients for health? The first one is vitamins. Vitamins are micronutrients that offer a range of health benefits, including they can boost the immune system, they can prevent delay in certain cancers, such as prostate cancer, they can straighten your teeth and build strong bones, they can aid in calcium absorption. They can maintain healthy skin. And when you eat all the wrong things, something that they've discovered in the last couple of years is the ends of our DNA has something on it called telomeres. And if we're eating a lot of sugar and a lot of processed food chemicals, we're shortening those telomeres. And when we shorten those telomeres, we age. Our skin ages, our bodies age. Telomeres can be maintained with healthy food and healthy code, or they can be shortened and cause us to age much more quickly than if we're not feeding them all the right stuff. Helping the body metabolize proteins and carbs is something that vitamins do, supporting healthy blood. Aiding the brain and the nervous system is something that vitamins do. And there's 13 essential vitamins and that nutritionists divide into two groups. There's fat soluble vitamins and there's water soluble vitamins. The fat soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K, and the water soluble vitamins are all the B's, including folate, including biotin and vitamin C. Typically, a person who eats a diet rich in vegetables, fruits, and lean proteins that have eaten their species-specific diet, which is an important point, they can get all the vitamins they need from their food. However, those who eat less fruit and vegetables and those with digestive conditions might need to take a vitamin supplement or reduce or avoid a vitamin deficiency. So that's the first category of essential things that our body needs. Number two are minerals. Minerals are the second type of micronutrient. There are two groups of minerals, major and trace minerals. The body needs a balance of minerals from both groups for optimal health. Major minerals are magnesium. Magnesium takes care of 350 different enzyme reactions in your body, so it's rather crucial. Calcium. Calcium is important for strong bones, and it's also important for kidney function. So phosphorus, sulfur, sodium, potassium. Potassium keeps your heartbeat steady. At one point, I had a deficiency in potassium in my body. It was something that ended up that they decided I was born with. So my heart was flipping around in there like a fish on a dock. I had to eat bananas every day, and I ate bananas. I ate kiwi, which has more potassium in it than even bananas does. But I finally did get my heart rhythm to even out because I added enough potassium from real food sources, and that did the trick. And then we also need chloride. Major minerals help the body do the following: balances water levels, maintains healthy skin, hair, and nails, and improves bone health. Pretty important stuff. Trace minerals are iron, selenium, zinc, manganese, chromium, copper, iodine, fluoride, and molybdenum. Trace minerals strengthen bones, prevent tooth decay, aid in blood clotting, help carry oxygen, support the immune system, and support healthy blood pressure. A person can ensure they consume enough minerals by including the following foods in their diets. Red meat. Now, again, I only eat pastured red meat because he's eating the diet that his two stomachs are meant to eat. Seafood, nuts and seeds, vegetables, leafy greens, fruits, poultry. Again, I only want chicken that's been free run, that's out there in the field eating grasses and twigs and berries and bugs. Bugs make them taste good. So you want to be eating poultry that eats his species specific diet. Same thing with eggs. Egg yolks get you your trace minerals, and eggs need to also be from free run chickens. Whole grains, beans, and legumes. Okay, that's the second category, minerals. And unfortunately, with all of the conventional farming that's going on, we're not rotating our crops, and our ground is not as healthy. Our dirt is not as healthy as it used to be. So our plants are not getting as many minerals as they were when I was a kid. Remember, I'm 72. So the way they grew things back then was a little bit different. But it's important that you get things like your magnesium checked because you need it. And if you don't have enough, then you have to supplement. I do take a magnesium pill every morning and every night because for some reason my body doesn't hold on to it. The next category is protein. Protein is also a macronutrient that every cell in your body needs to function properly. Proteins carry out a variety of functions, including ensuring the growth and development of your muscles, your bones, your hair, and your skin. They form antibodies, they create hormones, and other essential substances to body function, serving as a fuel source for cells and tissues when needed. Way back in my early 20s, I discovered I was um, hypoglycemic. So I learned quickly that I needed to eat enough protein because protein released slowly. They released sugar slowly. So that way I wasn't having huge spikes up and down of my blood sugar. So by eating adequate protein, I could even out my sugar. Now, what I didn't know when I had um, hypoglycemia back then was that people who get hypoglycemia in their 20s almost always become diabetic in their 60s. That would be me. I wish I had known that because I might have researched nutrition earlier and eaten differently had I understood all of this back then. But I am in the process now of reversing my diabetes. So I am starting to get my liver to function better and my body to function better. And it's because I'm getting all the micronutrients that I need from real food, from the rainbow, and from grass-fed pastured meats. A person can take in proteins through their diet. The following foods are really good sources of protein. Some red meat, again pastured. Poultry, again pastured. Fish. The key is for it to be wild fish so that it has great omega-3 fatty acids and it doesn't have a lot of mercury. The best fish of all is wild salmon. But there are some other seafoods that are good too. Sardines are in the good fish category. Beans and legumes are really good for you. Eggs, again, from pastured chickens. Some dairy products, preferably raw. Um, I'm dairy sensitive, so I don't get any of my protein from dairy products, but you may choose to get some from dairy products. It's really hard on the mother cow and on the calf. They keep having her get pregnant over and over again. They're feeding her hormones. They're feeding her antibiotics to keep her well. They're doing all kinds of icky stuff. So if you're going to eat dairy, just understand that that's part of the program that comes with it. Soy. There's controversy as to whether or not soy is good for you, but the belief is that it is a perfect plant food. The problem with soy is that 95% of it is now genetically modified. So if you're going to eat soy products, make sure that they are organic soy products. Nuts. If you're going to eat a lot of nuts, make sure they're nuts that are in healthy oils. I actually buy my nuts raw and I roast them in a pan with avocado oil, which is an omega-3 oil, so that I'm not getting icky genetically modified vegetable oils that my nuts are in. And then I add my own sea salt. Those are very healthy and they're a great source of protein. Some greens, including quinoa, is really good for you. Although meats and fish tend to contain the highest levels of protein, vegans and vegetarians can also get enough protein from their various plant products. If you're worried about nuts being too fattening, know this. Again, I said this earlier, all calories are not created equal. 200 calories from nuts and seeds is entirely different from 200 calories from a box of cookies. There is an issue with omega-6 fats. We need essential fats, but not from the gallons of refined oils that we're consuming every year in processed and fried foods. Wild foods are high in omega-3 and much lower in omega-6. And it's a balance that we want. We're eating like this many omega-6s because we're eating so much processed food and we're eating like this many omega-3s. Add the omega-3s to your list, and I'm going to list off to you what they are because those are the ones that will bring the scale more equal, and you need to have a balance of omega-3s to omega-6s. You can do a trial of a nut seed-free diet for certain medical conditions, but for most of us, nuts and seeds are nutritional and disease-fighting powerhouse foods. Okay, the next important essential ingredient are fats. Now, for a long time, there was a study done many studies done by the sugar industry that vilified fat. So everything became low fat. We actually need healthy fats. Every cell in our body needs fats for its membrane. Our brain needs fat. And having cholesterol is not necessarily bad, no matter what your doctor is telling you. There are different kinds of cholesterol, and they're learning a lot about that now. There's something called LDL, which you've been told is bad cholesterol, but the truth is there's even different kinds of LDL. What you don't want is small particle LDL. What you do want is big, fluffy LDL, and you want the HDL. So people are associating high fat in food with bad health, and that is a misnomer. That was a mistruth that we got fed by the processed food industry. We need certain fats to maintain our optimal health. They provide our body with energy and they help us carry out a range of functions. It's essential to consume healthy fats such as monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, and it's important to limit or avoid saturated and trans fats. What do healthful fats help us do? Cell growth, blood clotting, building new cells, reducing the risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes, muscle movement, balanced blood sugar, brain functioning. We need it for mineral and vitamin absorption. We need it for hormone production. We need them for immune health. Healthy fats actually help us burn fat better. It helps power the brain, it helps synthesize hormones, and it helps us not be hungry all the time. If we're not eating any fats, we've got a bigger hunger, which keeps us more addicted to the processed food and the sugar in that processed food because we want to eat more of it because we're hungry all the time. If we're eating quality omega-3 fats, the hunger level comes way down and we simply feel better and we're not hungry all the time. A person should consume 20 to 35% of their calories from healthful fats. And that's from a study called Dietary Guidelines for Americans Trusted Source. Because the body uses the fat you eat to build cell walls, it's really important. You have more than 10 trillion cells in your body, and every single one of them needs high quality fat. How do you know if your cells are getting enough fat that they need? Well, your body tells you. Your body is actually really way smarter than I ever dreamt when I got autoimmune disease. And when I started asking my body, how does it feel? And I started paying attention to how my body was showing up in the world, I got really amazed really quickly at how my body was smart and was more than willing to tell me when I was doing good and when I was doing bad. Your body sends you signals when it's not getting enough good fat. Warning signs include dry, itchy, scaling, or flaking skin. I've had itchy skin my whole life, and it was probably because I wasn't eating enough fat, and my skin is not itchy like it used to be because now I am making sure that I'm getting enough omega-3 fats. Soft, cracked, or brittle nails. My God, I used to have the worst nails known to man. They were always rough, and so I always bit them because I couldn't stand them being rough. Now, I don't have long, beautiful nails, but I do have nails for the first time in my life because I'm eating omega-3 fats. Hard earwax. Tiny bumps on the backs of your arms. Oh, wow, did I used to have tons of tiny bumps on the backs of my arms. That's a sign that you're not getting enough omega-3 quality oils. Achy, stiff joints and bumps on your torso. So I now eat fat with every meal, and I have never felt better. The right fats can improve your mood, your skin, your hair, your nails, and protect you against type 2 diabetes, dementia, cancer, and more. So, what are my favorite sources for oils and fat? Avocados, ghee. Now, ghee has an oil in it. Ghee is clarified butter. Some people will tell you not to eat butter. It's not heart healthy. Well, guess what? If you're eating raw butter and you're eating organic butter, so it doesn't have all the added hormones and antibiotics and crud in it, or if you're eating organic ghee, which is just the CLA oil, that is body healthy. It's also heart healthy. You can also get great sources of fat from nuts and seeds, from fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, from extra virgin olive oil. Now, there's a exception to that. You don't want to be cooking with it because it has a very low smoke point, and so high quality olive oils are for salads. You want to use them for salads and on food that's not cooked at high heat. And then they're really good for you. And the reason for that is because the mafia got involved with the olive oil industry and they started cutting it with omega-6 oils, all those inferior oils that you don't need, that you're already getting too many of. So you need extra virgin olive oil. Now, California passed a law. So if it says it's California olive oil, it's olive oil. Italy and Spain didn't want to lose their olive oil business, so they now track the olive from the tree right into the bottle. So look for certified olive oil. And there's a huge difference in quality olive oil and how it tastes, and you can taste the difference. So currently we are either buying olive oil from a local farmer that comes to our farmers market in Los Angeles, or we're using an olive oil from a olive oil farm called the Furies, and I like both very much, and they taste fantastic. You can also get quality oils from grass-fed or sustainably raised animal products. The higher the quality the fat, the better your body functions. Think about that. So all those years when we were eating low-fat products, we were doing our body harm. So I want you to think about this. This is a new paradigm, but it is a true paradigm. And I want you to start adding omega-3 oils back into your diet. Fat does not make you fat unless you're eating it with starch and sugar like most Americans. So you need 3 to 5 servings of fat a day, and you should be eating your fats mostly with vegetables. So I cook my vegetables and then put ghee on them because it tastes like butter and it adds wonderful flavor and it makes my vegetables real yummy to eat. I put ghee on my vegetables when I roast them. That's my new favorite way to eat real food, to eat real vegetables, is to roast them until they're just slightly brown, because that brings out a whole new flavor that's just fantastic. So small amounts of butter, grass-fed ghee, and coconut or MCT oil are fine for most of us. Now, I read an article not long ago that coconut oil is one of those sometimes healthy, sometimes not healthy oils. It's really good for our brains. So if you need it for your brain, then coconut oil is a great choice. However, if you have a heart condition, it's not so good to be eating coconut oil. Then it starts to cause some problems. So if you have a heart condition, step into the other omega-3 oils and step away from the coconut oil. Now, I personally cannot stand the smell of coconut oil, so I don't cook in it because I just can't stand it. I do make what I call my miracle cream with essential oils by mixing it into coconut oil. So I found another use for coconut oil that's really healthy, because when I add organic essential oils to it, all my friends call me for my miracle cream because it will unkink all kinds of muscles and sore areas in your body. And one of the ones that I use is frankincense, because it actually is the only essential oil that'll go right through your cell walls. So it can get through and it can heal. So it's terrific. If you're eating a high fat diet and are curious about how it's affecting your body, then I suggest you get the NMR particle size cholesterol test. Now, I'm working on my cholesterol because I do have cholesterol, and unfortunately, I have all that little particle LDL. I have it partly from eating too much sugar over the course of my entire life and from eating too many omega-6 oils that just accumulated with it. But I am conscious of it now. I also have a fatty liver for a couple of reasons. I got Epstein-Barr or mono in my late 20s. My liver function has never been great since then. And the only painkiller I took until I got autoimmune disease was, I'm going to mispronounce it, but Tylenol. Acetaminophen, which isn't how you pronounce it, but it's how I've pronounced it my whole life. That was way harder on my liver than my wildest dreams. So I don't use any over-the-counter medications anymore. And I am working really hard to reverse my fatty liver. And I'm doing that with real food by eating cruciferous vegetables. I have 3 podcasts on the liver. So if you have a fatty liver, or you have a cholesterol, or you have a triglyceride problem, or you have a gallbladder problem, and guess what? Don't let them take your gallbladder out. There are no throwaway body parts. Every single body part has a reason to be in your body. But go back and listen to my 3 liver podcasts because they will give you a ton of information. And as a result of that, I have been reversing my own fatty liver. And I have a client who has stayed off of statins because her liver has improved so dramatically by following a healthier diet. So is that circumstantial evidence? It might be, but it's working. So I don't care. That's why I say some of this I want you just to try and see how your body responds to it, because it just might also do the trick for you. You need cholesterol. It's needed to make new cells and to repair damaged ones in such high demand. And our liver recycles cholesterol in copious amounts, producing 85% of the cholesterol that's in our blood. This always blows people's mind. And human breast milk, by the way, is very dense with cholesterol because it's what the baby needs to grow. So cholesterol is not necessarily a bad thing, but the kind of cholesterol you have is the problematic part. And triglycerides, since we haven't said it, triglycerides are a direct result of how much fructose and sugar and beet sugar and genetically modified sugar and cane sugar you're eating. That's what makes your triglyceride numbers high. So cut it out already and cut down all the sugar. And it's the sugar mostly in processed foods that's causing the trouble. It's not the little bit of sugar you're adding to your tea in the morning. So I'm going to give you the whole list of omega-3 fats here. Sorry, I'm looking at a light and then I'm getting a hard time reading here. Avocado oil, butter, wild fish, avocado oil, I might have just said that, oils from grass-fed organic sources, nuts and seeds, grape seeds oils, and coconut oil. Those are the good oils. Now, there are some people here in Sedona that use rice oil, brown rice oil, and it's more expensive and they consider it healthy. I think that the school is a little bit out on that, but if you go to a restaurant that is farm to table, they might be using rice oil, brown rice oil, and that's not necessarily a bad choice. And to have it once in a while is not going to do your body much harm. Omega-6 oils are sunflower oil, safflower oil, corn oil, soybean oil, and canola oil. What do those oils also all have in common? They're cheap and they're genetically modified. So you're getting a healthy dose of some kind of toxin with every bite. So stick to your omega-3s. They're building cell walls. They're building brain power, and the omega-6 oils are causing trouble. Then the next main important category is carbohydrates. Yes, carbohydrates are important. You don't want to eliminate all your carbohydrates, but you don't want the simple carbohydrates. You want the complex carbohydrates, which is what plants and fruits and vegetables are. Carbohydrates are actually essential to the body. They're one of the body's primary sources of energy, and they represent an essential part of any healthy diet. In fact, almost all the plant foods fall into the carb category. These are what I call slow carbs. I don't call them slow carbs. Experts call them slow carbs. And so I am repeating my research to you, and they're called slow carbs, which are low glycemic, which means they don't spike your blood sugar or your insulin. Slow carbs are loaded with nutrients, fiber, and amazing molecules called phytochemicals. Okay. When we get towards the end of my information, which will most likely be an additional podcast, we're going to talk at length about phytochemicals. There's a lot of new research being done on phytochemicals and how each color has different phytochemicals and the gifts that they bring to your body. And it was really through phytochemicals and eating the rainbow that I was able to heal the pain of my autoimmune disease. And remember the woman who had multiple autoimmune diseases and then got cancer? Well, she followed the Dr. Terry Wall diet, and it was loaded with phytochemicals, which is how she reversed all of her illnesses. So we're going to get to that. It's important information, and I want to explain phytochemicals to you as much as I understand them. There is continual new research being done on phytochemicals, so some of it's going to be observational, and I will give you that. But again, you don't lose anything by trying it because they won't do you any harm. So give it a try and see how your body responds to it, because my body went, hey, yeah, keep it going because I'm feeling pretty good. Slow carbs come loaded with nutrients, fiber, and amazing molecules called phytochemicals. Okay, so when you eat a cornucopia of fresh fruits and vegetables that are teeming with all these marvelous, yummy, bright, and exciting rainbow colors and phytonutrients, they're carotenoids and flavonoids and polyphenols. They improve nearly all health problems when they get together and they party. They improve dementia, which is now called diabetes type 3, by the way. They improve diabetes, and they slow aging. Why do they slow aging? Because they actually extend the telomeres on the end of our DNA. So what the functional medical community recommends is that 75% of your plate becomes plant food. So you have a little piece of meat because it's the most expensive thing on your plate, and it's pastured and high quality protein. You're not going to eat any of that stuff that's done that they're putting the hormones and the antibiotics so that they can get it to stay well long enough that it flops onto your plate. You're going to eat the quality guys who are eating the quality diet of what they're supposed to eat, but that's more expensive. So that's one thing on your plate. And then 75% of your plate is going to be fruits and vegetables, hopefully of multiple colors. And we're even going to talk about diversity, because you want to eat different ones, because you want to have a diversity of things that you're putting into your body so that you're getting your phytonutrients from a lot of different angles, because altogether that programs your body to be as healthy as possible. By volume, your plate should be carbs. That's the important thing to remember. And I said by volume, not by calories, because you can eat a whole lot of plant food and not add up a whole lot of calories. Many plant-based carbs actually have very few calories. Now, I told you, I've lost 65 pounds since I've been eating this way, and I am not dieting. I am following these principles, and my body is releasing the weight on its own. I release for a while and then I stop, and then I release for a while and then I stop. I'm okay losing weight that way because I'm losing it for health and I'm eating for health. And so my body's doing what it's supposed to do, and it is no longer starving for nutrition. Good quality carbs that come from plant foods provide unique benefits, including high levels of vitamins and minerals and fiber. Fiber is another really important thing. And where do you get a lot of your fiber? You get them from the plant kingdom. And special plant compounds have healing properties that are called phytonutrients or sometimes called phytochemicals. Phytochemicals are actually medicinal molecules, such as curcumin, which comes from turmeric. I use curcumin for pain. I told you I don't take any over the counter pain medications anymore. I don't need it. I use curcumin. And that has taken away whatever pain was still left over from my autoimmune disease. So I'm feeling pretty darn good. Um, Glucosinolates in broccoli. I'm going to mispronounce all of these. Anthocyanins in berries. Berries are so healthy for you. Oh my God. You need to be eating blueberries and raspberries and strawberries and blackberries because the phytonutrients that are in that family are just superb for creating health. Many of these foods, your berries included, are very high in fiber, which feeds the friendly flora in your gut and scrub your intestines, thus supporting a healthy digestive tract. So try to gradually increase your fiber intake every day. Now, I also take fiber pills, and we're going to talk about that a little later on. I take extra fiber because my gut is happy with the extra fiber and it helps me poop. I know we're not probably supposed to say poop on camera, but it's an important body function and the fiber helps me do that. So I get my fiber from real food and then I take fiber, which helps me as well. When you focus on low glycemic load plant foods is when your weight will start to normalize. It's getting what it needs. It's a miracle. When I started losing weight after beating myself for having no willpower those years, oh my God, I wish I had known this in my 20s. I wouldn't beat myself up all those years and I would have been way healthier and I probably would have never gotten hypoglycemia, diabetes, or autoimmune disease. As a result of eating these low glycemic load plant foods and normalizing your weight, you reduce your risk for numerous diseases. However, your body needs complex carbohydrates to support the following: your immune system. If you want to not get COVID, start eating plant food, for God's sakes. Yes, there's a circumstantial new plan that studied 600,000 people that those who ate diets that had all the colors of the rainbow in it and were loaded with fiber and were organic, they actually didn't get COVID as often as people who were eating the standard American diet. I will agree that it was circumstantial. There are no double-blind tests proving that this is true. But hey, 600,000 people is a pretty big subject to do the test on. It improves your immune system, your brain function, your nervous system, your energy, and your digestive function. What's bad about any of that? A balanced diet includes natural, unprocessed, complex carbohydrates and is rich in nutrients, and therefore it includes vegetables, nuts, legumes, beans, and whole grains. Most of those foods are also very high in fiber. And there are two different kinds of carbohydrates. We've talked about this briefly. There are simple carbohydrates and there are complex carbohydrates. You don't want to be eating a lot of simple carbohydrates. So what are the simple carbohydrates? White bread, pasta, and rice. So you want to be concentrating on the other side of the plant kingdom, all those beautiful colors that are in the plant kingdom that you're going to cook and put on your plate and into your body. The following foods also are complex carbohydrates: quinoa, brown rice. It is recommended that you buy California brown rice and not Texas brown rice because there is less chemicals. There are less heavy toxic metals in the brown rice from California. So arsenic is in brown rice if it's in Texas. And so eat California brown rice. And I buy Lundstrom because it's supposed to be grown in a way that it doesn't have all that crud. So there you go. Vegetables, whole grain pasta bread, and other baked goods, they are more on the simple to complex, but you need to be not eating as many of those. Some oatmeal is okay. Fruits are okay, but try to eat the low glycemic fruits, which are the berries. Um, and eat the high fiber fruits like bananas. They're higher in calories, but they add a lot of fiber and they add something called prebiotics to your gut, which we'll get to. Barley has some advantages in your diet. So avoid the overly processed products that have bleached white flour and foods with added sugar. Okay, the next category that your body needs to function properly, the next essential nutrient is fiber. So how do you increase fiber in your diet? The first thing you do is you start adding flax in everywhere. Now, I can't add flax. It happens to be a sensitivity of mine. I have no idea how that happened. But flax is a super healthy fiber. So get a coffee grinder, grind up your flax seeds, grind a half a cup at a time, keep it in a closely sealed glass jar in your fridge or your freezer, and add 2 tablespoons into something you're cooking every day. It's that good for you to religiously add it to what you're cooking. Sprinkle it on salads, sprinkle it on grains, sprinkle it on vegetable dishes. Mix it in a little unsweetened applesauce, which is also really good for you. And apples have pectin in it, which is also really good for your body. Bulk up on vegetables with low levels of calories and high levels of antioxidants and protective phytochemicals. Those excellent fiber sources should be heaped on your plate daily. Remember, 75% of your plate is going to be from the plant kingdom. Go nuts. Include a few handfuls of almonds every day, or walnuts, or pecans, or hazelnuts. Start slowly with your nuts. I also love pumpkin seeds. I roast my own in my own avocado oil and add my own sea salt. They are high in protein and high in fiber, and they're really good for you. Switching abruptly to a high fiber diet could cause gas and bloating. So increase your fiber intake slowly. And if you're going to take a supplement, choose a supplement that includes both soluble and insoluble fiber, but no sweeteners or additives. Glucomannan is really good as a fiber, and I use Natural Factors by WellBetX as my fiber. So you can I take it as capsules. If you buy it as a powder, you put it in the glass, you put the water in, it gels almost right away. It gels that quickly. So take the capsules, but take it with copious amounts of water. 30 to 60 minutes before you eat. And don't take any medications within 1 hour before or 2 hours after of taking fiber, because it could actually absorb all your medication and then your medication would do you no good. Okay, the next essential nutrient is water. Water is probably the most important essential nutrient that a person needs. A person can only survive a few days if it doesn't consume, excuse me, if he doesn't consume water. Slight dehydration can cause headaches. So if you have a headache, the first thing you want to do is drink a big glass of water, because that could help. Because if you're dehydrated, you're definitely going to have a headache. The other thing that somebody just taught me recently is if I get a headache, I take one of those Himalayan pink salt crystals and put it under my tongue. And 9 times out of 10, that takes care of the headache, because what I really don't have is adequate salt as a mineral in my body. And so my body's reacting to that. The body is made up mostly of water, and therefore every cell requires water to function. And water helps you with most body functions, including it flushes toxins out. Remember, your liver is working overtime getting all those toxins. It only has a couple of routes to get the toxins out of your body, but all the toxins go to your liver. It can take them out through your skin. So not putting more toxins on your skin and knowing what you're using in your personal care products is really important. It can take it out through your urine, and you need lots of water in order for that to work properly, or you can poop them out. So you need water no matter what so that you can get the toxins out of your body. They're good for shock absorption. They transport nutrients from cell to cell. They prevent constipation. Remember, we're getting rid of toxins, so that becomes an important part of the body process. They lubricate in your body. They hydrate in your body. And the best source for water is to drink natural, unsweetened water from the tap or from bottled sources. Now, we have full filter systems on both houses. We started off with a filter system under our kitchen sink. That was the water I drank. That was the water I cooked with. And then I would carry it in stainless steel bottles because you don't want it in plastic, because plastic leaches into the water and has all kinds of toxic chemicals that then your poor liver has to deal with and get rid of. So get a water report from your water company, know what's in your water, and if necessarily, filter it out. And as you can, then put on whole health systems, because I didn't want the toxins when I got sick to be going through my skin. And I take a bath almost every night. I take a shower almost every morning. And so filtering my water was important in both houses. And I'm in Arizona where there is arsenic in the water here, so we filter all that out with the water system. You can also get extra water by consuming fruit. Fruit is really good for your body. And things like watermelon, it's great for your body because you're getting a lot of water from that fruit, which is really good for you. So stop avoiding getting your water intake from sugary drinks. Pop is just pure gut rock. You can literally clean the chrome on your car or clean goo off of your kitchen floor. You do not want to be drinking any kind of pop. Stop it already. It's bad for you and it's causing diabetes. Whether it is no sugar or real sugar pop, it is not good for your body. Eliminate the sweetened teas, the sweetened coffees, the sodas, the lemonades, and believe it or not, fruit juice. A lot of times fruit juice has even more sugar in it than pop does. Sometimes they have 20 teaspoons of sugar per serving. So be careful. Don't do that stuff. You need real water that doesn't have toxins in it, and you can control that. Okay, moving on. How are we doing for time? Okay, we've used up 1 full hour. So I'm going to make this the essential ingredients that your body needs podcast. And then we're going to move right on into the phytonutrients and what each category of phytonutrients does and what each color of phytonutrients does in my next podcast. Thank you for listening to me. This information is so important. I wish I had known it all before I got sick so that I didn't get sick. But now that I am learning it every day, I am making notes, and then I want to share it with you because I don't want you to go where I went. I don't want you to go where you have all that terrible body pain and brain fog and gut difficulties. I had horrible agita. I haven't had agita for several years now because I eat a lot of plant food, which is alkaline, so that acid reflux is totally gone. So if you listen to my podcast, I am giving you invaluable information of what to put into your body that is information and what to put into your body that are essential nutrients so that you can have a healthy brain, you cannot get chronic illness, and you can live long and thrive. So thank you for joining me today, and I will see you soon with the next part of this information. Thanks. Here's to It Feels Good to Feel Good future-proof your health, because when you start feeling good, you become unbelievably protective of that, because your body doesn't want to ever go back, and I won't let my body go back. So have a great week or two until you get to hear the next edition, and I look forward to sharing with you again soon. Bye. Hello, could I see a show of hands if there's anybody out there like me who's tried to lose weight their whole life and not been successful? So you've tried all the different diets available. You've tried Weight Watcher. You've tried Jenny Craig. You've tried all the New York Times bestsellers. And the last time you did it, you started off great, just like all the other times. And you started losing weight, and then all of a sudden you fell off the horse. And before you know it, you're eating fast food and processed food again with all that sugar, and you don't even know why. And in the end, you've gained more weight than where you started out. So you now are beating yourself up that you just don't have the willpower to win. If that's you, I want to address the elephant in the room, because 9 years ago, I got autoimmune disease and started researching because I didn't want the pain that came with the autoimmune disease, and the added benefit was I lost the weight along the way. So let me tell you what happens. Big Food doesn't want you to win. They've rigged the system. They've put so many chemicals into fast food and processed food that they light up the brain like a pinball machine. It's the same part of the brain that goes off for cocaine and heroin, and you feel great when you eat that food, but it's not making you feel good, and you're starving your body for nutrition because it's loaded with empty calories, so you're getting fat eating that food, and it's not giving your body what you need. And it's turning off all your own feel-good hormones of serotonin and dopamine and even your insulin, which keeps your moods even. But worse than that, there's two little hormones here at the back of your neck called ghrelin and leptin, and they don't work, and they regulate your appetite because all those chemicals have subdued them, so you don't even know when you're full. So what did I learn to do instead? I'm eating the GLAD diet, loaded with all the phytonutrients that my body needs to be healthy and to thrive and to boost my immune system and to ditch the pain. And along the way of eating all this live food, I lost 60 pounds without dieting. You see, I was starving my body for nutrition when I was eating the standard American diet, and now that I'm giving my body all those beautiful phytonutrients, it's not holding on to it anymore, so it's just dropping it automatically. So don't eat the standard American diet. I don't want you to get a standard American disease, and I certainly don't want you to die the standard American death. Instead, start eating the GLAD diet, because by eating all those beautiful phytonutrients, you will be healthier and you will live long and thrive. Thank you.